Hello and welcome back to your Pokemon Wind Adventure. Today we're going to be talking about the Pokemon that I created from scratch. But I have a confession to make. I set myself a challenge of splicing pieces of Pokemon together to create something brand new, but because I made so many and it took so long to actually make them, I've forgotten what I made them out of. I'm sorry. Please don't hurt me. But now we're going to talk about the Pokemon I created. If you recognize some of the pieces, you might let me know in the comments below. That'd be quite cool. So, let's boot up our deck, shall we? Okay, now one thing I want to put across is that there are so many Pokemon, I'm splitting this up into multiple parts. So today I'm going to look at the starters and the wild encounters. Some of these Pokemon you may recognize, and some of them you will definitely not recognize. Starting with the starters, when you get yourself a starter, you'll have to pick carefully, because in Pokemon Dust and Wind there is a difference to these Pokemon. Their third stage evolutions have different types, different secondary types depending on the game you get. So, without further ado, let's get on with this, shall we? Seedlay! This is one of the most adorable designs I ever came up with in my eyes. So cute. Based off a cactus plants and stuff like that, but also based off a child. I gave it a leaf on the head. It looks really cute. I don't really have much to talk about this one, as I've already explained a lot about it beforehand, so let's evolve him, shall we? Alright, let's evolve Seedlay to Sproutlay! I actually had a lot of fun trying to design this guy. He's based off like a child with lanky arms, also based off a monkey, as well as the plant-like inspirations throughout, whilst giving it an autumn leaf on the forehead. I wanted it to be cute yet silly and energetic, and it looks kind of cool to me. Now let's go and evolve it, shall we? Now bear in mind, the third stage of these evolutions vary depending on the type of game you got. As this is Pokemon Wind, you will get Growlithe. This version is a grass dark type. He's based off a Golem, with, of course, different influences of plant life and their secondary typings tied in together. Now, let's have a look at the fire starter, shall we? Rabinda. Oh, look at this derpy piece of shit. Oh, I love him. I wanted him to be derpy and silly, and he's based off a poison dart frog. But let's evolve it into its second form. Grumpinda. This is even derpier than the first one, holy crap. And he has these cannons on his wrists that shoot out lava. Of course, it's a fire type, and it's a kind of cool little Pokemon. I want him to be all gangly and weird and stuff like that, so, you know, it's kind of cool. So, let's evolve it. As this is Pokemon Wind, we'll get Croakinda. This time it's a fire psychic type. I wanted to give him that sort of Squirtle sort of thing. Like, taking a lot of influences from the water starters and then converting it over into a fire starter. And I wanted him to look pretty grumpy. He has a sack underneath his jaw that stores the toxins. And yeah, it's pretty neat. Next is the water starter, and it's Dropbat. Dropbat is an absolute sweetie. Little bouncy cotton ball of fluffy goodness. Made him blue, made him something that would be a flying type, and then change it all up based off of the smallest bat in the world, which I think it's called a bumblebee bat, and it's so freaking cute. So, let's actually have a look at Dropbat's evolution. Splash Bat. I had fun designing Splash Bat. Yeah, he has more of a bat body, but he hasn't got arms yet. His wings are cute and he looks all happy and adorable and really sweet looking. Of course, it's just a normal water type, but of course, with the split evolution, as this is Pokemon Wind, we'll have Washbat, a water dragon type. This is based off of wyverns and bats, and it looks pretty sweet. It's got a great mane on it, it's got a cool little colour scheme, and I think it's rather sweet. Time to go on to the wild encounters. This is the largest part of this segment of the video, so we'll be listing off these Pokemon and talking a little bit about them to the best of my ability. Now, even though I'm doing the variations of the starters and so on, there are variations on the wild encounter Pokemon as well. So each game has something completely different, as their neighbouring regions, local Pokemon will have two different forms, so it's going to be quite interesting. Starting with Quailic. Of course, it's a normal type, and I based it off a King Quail, but we haven't seen it evolve. So let's evolve it to Questrel, based off a Kestrel. Who'd have thunk it? He's a normal flying type, and it's kind of sweet with the blue colour scheme and everything. So let's evolve it to its third form. Quailorc, based off a hawk, of course. As this is Pokemon Wind, it's a flying ice type. Quite a cool design, I might add. In fact, both the variants look sweet. Moving on to Possumat. First rodent you come across in a normal type again. Possumat's a 2-stage evolutionary line Pokemon, and it's kind of sweet looking. It's based off of like an Australian possum. So cute. And then of course the variations will have a different secondary typing. As this is Pokemon Wind, we have Possumor, normal ghost typing. I came up with the idea of this because possums carry their young, and I thought to myself, what if they were placed as weapons instead of actual young? Like little toys that they could spin around in the air and do cool stuff with it. I quite like this design, and you know, I think it's quite a cool little evolutionary line that you can have and then trade for the other version. Next to the very first bug on the list, we have Litmite. Of course, they're based off of larvae, the ladybird larvae. Let's evolve this bad boy, shall we? Midpod. Midpod is based off a pupa. He's all spiky and kind of cool looking. There's not really much to talk about this bug type Pokemon, so let's evolve it, shall we? Into Big Tull. Did you get it? Little, medium, and big. Big Tull in this version is a bug ground type. He has no wings, he's still on the ground. Now, this is an interesting one now. There are variants, but this time it's a gendered based variation. In the other game, there is the male equivalent, which means that in both regions they will meet up in the middle to mate and breed and get some eggs going, huh? But let's look at this version now. Wishwim. I thought it'd be like a pretty little fish floating around, looking quite cute. So let's evolve it, shall we? Wishwhale. Wishwhale, I suppose, is like the elegant sort of Milotic sort of design for this region. It's just really cool, but also adorable as it's now a water fairy type. Okay, this next Pokemon has been made from a joke. Me and Fedora, my girlfriend, have been discussing funny names, and then we had a joke about a buff hamster. So it inspired me to make Bamster, normal fighting type. It is a horrific thing. A horrific thing. Yeah. Of course, both versions have a different variant, because when they evolve in Pokemon Wind, you get Guinea Pig, the buff guinea pig, and oh my god, I've created a monster. A fighting fairy type. This thing is pretty freaky, but it's one of those fun little characters that I wanted to make up, because why not? It's a lark, it's a laugh. Next on this list, Crabbit. It's a bug ice type. It's a crab. It's a big ass crab. It's nothing different. Let's evolve it, shall we, into Craboost. It's a bipedal crab now, and it's still the same typing as it was before. It's just got a higher level. It's kind of cool. I kind of like the design of it. I'm just showing off all these Pokemon. I don't have much to say about them until we get into the story side of things, you see. Every Pokemon region has its Pika clone. And normally, in Japan, they are named in their Japanese name and then brought over to the West. But as I'm a Westerner myself, I thought I'll just name it something nuts off the top of my head. Boofwiffle! Boofwiffle. His name is Boofwiffle. There are two versions of this Pokemon in both the versions of the game. In this version, it's an electric ice type. And it's freaking adorable! Oh god! But I thought I'd make my own Pika clone no matter what. Now this Pokemon is in both games unchanged, exactly the same as it was. Le Cucaracha! He is a cockroach with maracas and a sombrero. Now, as you see with the evolutions and so forth, you get to have Pokemon that have split evolutionary lines. Swallowpupper is a normal type black dog based off of my dog Hachi. Hello. He's a big old dog with a big old jaw because he likes to put balls in his mouth like any dog would. You know, catch the ball and all that. But there are two balls in this game that are based off of pre-existing Pokemon, Bulbasaur and Squirtle. And when you give the balls to Swallowpupper, he can become Swallowpupper Grass, the normal grass type, Swallowpupper Water, normal water type. How cool is that? An item that you can also remove and revert him back into a normal type can be given different forms. Anyway, on to the next Pokemon Sphearmic. It's a grass-type Pokemon that disguises the top of its head like a mushroom as the top of a Pokeball. So it'll pop up a bit like a Voltorb Electrode. Do you think you're going to get yourself a Pokeball off the ground? No, it's a Sphearmic. It stands for Sphere Mimic, of course. But, of course, in both types of games, you're going to get different versions of it. In both games, you get this Sphearmic original Pokemon ball design. But in this version, you get this and this design. So it does sort of, change things up so you can trade with both games and actually do something interesting. Now, in every Pokemon generation, there's always that one Pokemon that is designed to piss people off. As we have established before, Zubat is actually a gift Pokemon given to you by the ranch leaders. So what would you encounter in the caves? Strabat! Yes, a bat that is designed to look like a stress ball. A thing that will appear constantly, and it looks like a stress ball. Even though there is still something that you need to bear in mind. In each game, they come in 3 colours each. So in this game, it comes in orange, pink, and yellow. Now we're going to get into Pokemon that are version exclusives. They do not have variants on either side of these games. They are originally from these specific games that we are talking about today. Buzzbeak. It's an electric flying type bird. It's based off a woodpecker. It looks kind of sweet. I quite like the look of him. But there's not much to talk about this guy. So let's evolve him into Buzzwind, electric flying yet again. He's a bit more of a derpy sort of bird, and I wanted him to look a bit more royal in its look. So, it's quite a nice bird to have. We have Grismorb. He's a big grizzly bear. He's a dark normal type, and I love him because he looks like Winnie the Pooh from hell. He is a really fun big bear, and I gave him some weird hands as well, so he looks a bit... Elecko. He's an electric gecko. Elecko. I like his design. He looks kind of weird. He looks like he's staring right into your soul and will never let you go. Frodent. He's a frozen rodent. He's a bunny rabbit that's been in the cold for too long and now he's pissed off. Thank you for letting me show you my little showcase of Pokemon for the Pokemon Dust and Wind videos. I am having a bit of trouble coming up with things to say about these Pokemon. All I want to do is just showcase them, show what they are, show what my dex is, and that means you can understand the dex yourself while we get to the story section where it will all make sense in the end. But yes, thank you very much for watching this part one of my new Pokemon designs for Pokemon Dust and Wind. Thank you for getting your nerd on with me, and gotta catch some more motherfuckers.